Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailysheeple.com, and this is your news shot. I'm going to go to Activist Post. They say police are telling students, and the activist students at that their free speech, by God, is scaring other students. That's right. Be afraid, my friends. Be very afraid of free speech, because it's going to come out and bite you. Says here, in yet another test of the U.S. Constitution's protected freedom of speech. Let me stop it there. It should say, and yet another test of your human rights, your unalienable rights. The Constitution Club at Southern Illinois University, SIU, inflated a giant beach ball and asked students to come by, grab a Sharpie, and write whatever they felt like writing on the ball. The students' free speech rights exercise was quickly interrupted by campus police, who informed the club members they'd received multiple complaints about the ball, and the group would need to stop their activities. According to Campus Reform, the reason SIU chose to attempt to stop the demonstration was that campus police said that students did not go through the proper channels to be able to hold the demonstration. Doesn't that negate the whole idea of a free speech? If it's something that's free, why would you have to ask permission for it? If it's something that's a right is not something you ask permission. A right is something that you inherently have, that you can't have taken away from you, that you must give up, whereas a privilege is something that you'd have to ask permission for. Okay? Two very distinct things there. Listen to this. This is from Executive Director of University Marketing and Communications, Doug Mahigala, told Campus Reform that activists were in violation of the university's policy governing freedom of expression and demonstration activities. Again, if there's freedom of speech and it's a right, there's nothing governing it. It's yours. The only thing that governs it is you. Says the demonstrators didn't follow the proper university procedures for a public forum by going through the Vice Chancellor of Administration for approval. He elaborated, he goes on to say, we normally get the request for use of the designated public forum form. Yes, there's actually a request. There's actually a request for use of the designated public forum form. Just so you guys know out there, people who send your children to college, the buffoonery, the asshattery, the ballbaggery, the skullduggery that takes place at these prestigious institutions of higher learning. It says ultimately the group was allowed to continue with their free speech demonstration, but not before having to make contact with campus police to explain their actions. The SIU police did not appear to want to interrupt what was going on, but were under marching orders from their superiors. Here again is a classic example of civil servants who have sworn to support, protect, and defend, not the chancellor of SIU, not the bylaws of the college or university, but the Constitution of the United States. At that, the very first amendment. The first one. The one that, I guess if you're going to put it in terms of most important, I guess is the most important. And right off the bat, they can't even get that right. But at least they had the wherewithal to say, well, you know, I'm just doing my job, Stormtrooper. Now, at issue is whether or not a university campus, a public facility, is in fact private property or public property. Now, if it's private property or if it's public property, then the group shouldn't be compelled to go through any channels of approval, right? Instead, the group is subjected to what some would consider an arbitrary process, which attempts to secure the outside approval of a third party, and in this case, the director of the university's marketing and communications, to get the blessing for what the Constitution already not only puts forth, but is just a reminder of what you actually already have. So basically these people are asking permission for something they've already got. That's not the first time a group on campus has been accosted by police for attempting to assert their free speech rights. As a matter of fact, several college students were arrested for passing out pocket-sized copies of the U.S. Constitution and signing students up for membership in their conservative student organization. That's right. The incident occurred at Kellogg Community College in Battle Creek, Michigan, and involved members of the Young Americans for Liberty who attempted to hand these out and were arrested on September 20th, 2015, and charged with trespassing. Brandon Withers and Michelle Gregore were arrested and spent nearly 7 hours in jail for their unapproved distribution of the U.S. Constitution and for allegedly attempting to recruit others to their club. The offenses resulted in demands the students remove themselves from campus property. The students, of course, refused to leave and were arrested by campus police and charged with trespassing. That's right. So this happens all over the country. We see it in protests, right? You have the G8 comes to America. One of the last times we saw it was in Pittsburgh, where you have free speech zones. Free speech zones? The United States is a free speech zone. What do we need a free speech zone for? Oh, we can't have that. The terrorists are going to get us. Why? It's amazing how much people will capitulate when the threat of their peace and safety is front and center. And when that happens, you just see people just fold. And honestly and truly, on the one hand, you can't blame them because of what they're up against. And it really is a mighty foe that you're up against. You're talking about a militarized police state that is basically armed the same way an active duty soldier is armed and now possesses the mentality that an active duty soldier has over in a war zone. Ask a police officer what they call people like you and me. They'll say civilians. Civilians. You know, that's a military term. That's not a police term. Their job, what used to be, was to protect and serve the community. That just isn't the case anymore. Now it's more about enforcement. That's why they're called LEOs, law enforcement officers. They've changed it because now that they've changed that title, it opens up the doors for actions that were never meant to be. And in this case, it is basically ruling with a jackboot over our necks. And if you think about it, government only has one tool in its toolbox, and that's a hammer. They have no other tool. They have no other way of enforcing things. Everything has to be through punishment, oppression, and intimidation. Everything. Every time. There's nothing, well, we really do respect the First Amendment. Yeah, right. They don't respect anything. What they want are good, willing slaves. And at the end of the day, I think the powers that shouldn't be are a bit pissed at the fact that the slavery that was supposed to take place, the programming that was supposed to happen, just never really took root. And if you ask me, it's a pretty simple answer. Human beings were never designed to be subservient. They were never designed to be automatons. We were never designed for groupthink. We were never designed for anything like that. We were designed from the outset to be unique, to be individuals. That's why there's only one of you and no others like you. That's why you possess a unique fingerprint in and of itself. You own it. It's yours. Because we are unique beings. Each and every one of us. We learn differently. We think differently. We have different likes. We have different dislikes, different habits. You name it. We're different. To try and treat us the same way, to try and cookie cutter us and remove our free will never work, ever. And the sooner the control freaks get it through their thick skulls, the better off everybody will be. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. Hashtag wake the flock up. Have a great day, everybody.